You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey everyone, I am excited because today I have Barby Ingle on the line. Now, Barby, she specializes in medical bills, but not just any medical bills. She specializes in chronic diseases. So I wanted to have her on the line because she actually hit me with a stat before we got on the call. And I said, whoa, 1 in 3 people have chronic diseases. So this affects a lot of the population. And it's important to make sure that we're not overpaying for these services that we need. So, hey, Barby, how are you today?
Hey, Tiffany, I'm so excited to be here and share with you and the audience. And you are absolutely right. This affects you or somebody you know. So listen up. This is going to be good.
Wow. Wow. All right. So let's start off because I always love starting with baselines, just basic knowledge and education. What exactly is a chronic disease? Just give us some examples of what it could be because maybe someone in the audience might have a chronic disease and they don't even realize it.
Sure. So typically we think of a chronic disease as something that lasts longer than 6 months, but typically the rest of a person's natural life. And it can be anything from alcoholism, arachnoiditis, polio, which we don't hear a lot about, but that's still out there, mitosis, things that you have heard of, fibromyalgia or epilepsy, things that last a long time that take a lot of attention from our life. And for me, having a chronic illness is like getting a certain number of energy pennies every day. You know, you go to work and you have this paycheck that comes in. And with people, when it comes to health, they don't think of what's my paycheck going to be. When you have a chronic illness, you get 12 pennies a day and you have to learn how to spend them. And that's all you're going to get. And so I want people to be prepared and ready to go when they're trying to help somebody with a chronic illness or they themselves are living to and through a chronic illness.
Gotcha. So thinking through the definition you just gave, would that also include like asthma and diabetes and depression?
Absolutely. It can affect you physically, mentally, spiritually. Chronic diseases can attack multiple systems of your life. So not just your finances, but your physical well-being, your mental well-being, your spiritual well-being. It can affect every single aspect. So it's definitely something that you need to stay on top of when getting your life organized and trying to live your best life despite facing these challenges.
Okay. So now that I understand that, I'm like, oh, I have chronic diseases and illnesses because I have asthma, I have
Yes.
depression and anxiety. And so I'm like, okay, teach me what I need to know so I'm not overpaying for these services. So let's hop into that, Barbie. What are some things with people like myself now
Yes.
have chronic illnesses? What are some things that we should be thinking about or looking at when it comes to our medical care?
When it comes to medical care, one of the hardest challenges when it's chronic is keeping that care ongoing and being able to afford it in our lives without putting a burden on our families and the people around us that love us and are helping us. So I would say I'm going to start off with the people who are underinsured or don't have insurance because they don't know that they can do these things. But first is you can negotiate. If you need an appointment, you can call and say, what is your cash price? Can the medical provider send me to a nurse practitioner or somebody that is overseen by the medical provider, by the doctor, that costs less to see, but I still have resources and access to that doctor. So that can save you money right off the bat by calling and negotiating and not just, relying on, okay, their price is $150 for 15 minutes and I can't afford that. What can you afford? And can you get access to a provider that can have access to a doctor, or can you get direct access to the doctor for less amount? And then same thing happens with when you need blood testing, if you need x-rays, labs, MRIs, CAT scans, whatever it is. Like with asthma, you probably have had to have x-rays on your lungs and possibly further scans like CAT scans and MRIs. you can negotiate those prices with the companies who do those services, and you can call around and get the best price. Every place has a different price. So
Mm.
most people don't know that, and they just call and say, this is what it is, and then they end up paying extra money on their prices. Same thing happens with pharmaceutical companies and the pharmacies that we go to, the end user goes to pick up those medications that we need. There's all kinds of coupons, discount programs. When you have a chronic illness, you're typically we'll use asthma as an example. I also have lung challenges that I am faced with, and I have inhalers and things that I have to use, a nebulizer, and these cost a lot of money. But there's things that you can do by searching online, by going directly to the manufacturer. Go online, find out what medical options that you have, and then go to the manufacturer of those items and say, hey, I'm low income, or I'm underinsured, or I'm not insured, and what is available for me so that I can get a discount or a coupon. We use them in the grocery store. Why not use them with our medical care as well?
So that's interesting. Okay, so I have so many questions already. All right, so we said getting with providers that may be a little least expensive, so like nurse practitioners, asking if there's a cash price if you're not using insurance, and negotiating pricing, and then going directly to the manufacturer for your prescriptions. Now, I want to kind of stay on the negotiate pricing thing, because how do we even do that? Like, how do we open up that conversation with the doctor? Like, okay, look, I can't afford this, because a lot of people are ashamed to say, I can't afford this. So how can we open that conversation up?
Well, first thing, let go of the guilt. Take that guilt. I will physically, before I make a stressful phone call to ask for a discount, I will take my hand and put it across my chest, and as if I'm grabbing all of the invisible guilt or stress or anxiety, and I will throw it away from my body and say, this is not part of me. I don't want it. Be gone. And it doesn't go away forever, but it will help you get through that moment. Take a deep breath and have a plan when you call. Know what you can pay and give them the suggestion. Look, you charge $150, but you're one of the best for this condition, disease, whatever I'm facing, and I really want to get in and see you. I can afford $30. Can you please, will the provider accept the $30, and or do you have a way that I can see somebody in your practice to get a consultation that can then go to the provider, to that doctor, and get more information, let me know what's coming down the pipeline, or what I need to save up for, or what kind of plan we can be using so that I can maintain my care over time.
That's great. That's great. Because I know a lot of people face anxiety, and I love your strategy of just physically acting like you're taking that and just throwing it to the side, so that way you can have the conversation. I think that's super helpful, not only with negotiating medical bills, but any type of bill.
Absolutely.
As I
Any kind
think
of
through.
stress, any stressful situation, but it definitely is it's a way to tell your brain, I am taking this and setting it aside. I know it's there, but I'm setting it aside. I'm getting it off of me, and I'm going to accomplish this.
Gotcha, gotcha. And when you say go directly to the manufacturer, because just the other
Mhm.
day I was watching TV, and of course they have all these prescription drug commercials and stuff that come on. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why do they advertise to us when we can't just go to the store and get this stuff? Like, this is stuff that has to be prescribed. So now that you say when you go directly to the manufacturer, you might can get a discount. Now it's
Yes.
starting to click for me. Like, okay, that's why they want their name to be known, so people can come directly to them. Am I off on that, or?
No, you are absolutely right. And they actually have special programs set up, and not that many people know about them or use them. So it it definitely will help if you, even if you don't call the manufacturer, you can uh, go on their website and look at the special programs, and they have them for each different medication. So you can say, "Oh, I have asthma and I want this particular medication. I want medication A." Go to that pharmaceutical company and look up what programs they have, because oftentimes it will be less than what CVS, Walgreens, or any other staple pharmacy that's at the end of our streets is selling. You can get those coupons or get enrolled in those programs where your doctor's involved in the process, but you're going directly through the manufacturer to get that reduced price for whatever situation you're in.
Ah, yeah, because I had no idea. So pharmaceutical companies have programs that you can enroll in and your doctor will be a part of it. And are these like research programs or like
Not necessarily. And I have done research projects, and that is one way you can get some reduced medical care, is joining a research project. But that's a whole nother conversation for a different day, of what to look for those clinical trials. But you can do it just as a chronic patient who needs a particular medication or wants to try a particular medication, and they have programs for that are reduced in price, that are separate from the pharmacy, where they can either send it to your location, your home, your house, wherever you are, or they can arrange it so that you do pick it up at a pharmacy, but it has a different price than what the pharmacy would charge.
Wow. Okay. Because I had no idea that exists. And when you said program, I'm automatically thinking, are
I know.
these like research programs? Because, some people they're adverse to those. They're like, well, I don't want them researching on me, that type of
And there's
thing.
good reason. There's good reason. There's a right way and a wrong way to do clinical trials, as I said, but this is outside of a clinical trial. This is something that is available to us as consumers that most of us don't take advantage of.
So cool. So cool. So what other things can we do to negotiate those medical bills or get them down to be a little more affordable? I know we hit on people with no insurance or underinsured, but what about people with insurance?
Well, people with insurance should always pay attention to the medical billing. 8 out of 10 bills has a mistake according to JCO. So you definitely want to check your medical bills as they arrive, and don't pay your medical bill until your explanation of benefits has arrived, because your insurance company will negotiate pricing for you. And even if that's wrong, you can go back and negotiate with your insurance company and say, well, wait, this actually helped me. It's going to lower my future costs. You should pay more now so that you don't have to pay more later. And negotiate with your insurance, but also let them do their job. We're paying our insurance companies to negotiate for us in good faith. So if your medical bills are correct, your date of birth is correct, your name is spelled correctly, your date of service is correct, your CPT codes, which I know you've covered on a different episode, and people should go back and listen to that one as well, because there's great tips in there. Make sure that everything's accurate, because if it's not accurate, the insurance company will not cover it how they are uh, contracted with you to cover that expense. And then if, again, for me, I've had a bill that was over $100,000 for a medical procedure, and I contacted my insurance, who originally said they wouldn't pay it. And I said, okay, you're not going to pay any of it, but can you help me negotiate it down? And they said, sure. They said, sure, and helped me negotiate it down to the point where they got my medical records and said, wow, this is going to save us hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on this person's care over her lifetime, and went back and retroactively paid that fee back. And I got a check back from my insurance company for the money that I paid to the hospital.
Wow, awesome. So I didn't even think about that. And I'm glad that you gave your personal example. Thank you, because I'm
Yes.
like, wow. So even if you get a bill and even if the insurance says that they're not going to pay it, you can still ask them, well, can you just help me
Yes.
negotiate this down?
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely. And there's also, when it comes to hospitals, there's also a form called it's a charity form, and you're basically asking for charity. You have to set your pride aside. And you just, after your insurance pays, or if you have no insurance, you can use it either way. Don't feel like just because you have insurance that's where you're stuck. You can negotiate, and I've done it, and I've helped other people do it. You can negotiate with that charity form. Fill that. It's usually a one-page form. You attach your banking statement, or a couple of other things that they'll ask for. and from the last few months, and you send it back in, and typically they will wipe out the entire portion you owe or a majority of that portion that you owe. And I've helped people, including myself, save tens of thousands of dollars just by asking to be a charity case.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I have personal experience with that too. I had to go to the hospital for one thing or another. I can't remember because this was years ago, but I didn't have it. Like when the bill started coming in, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have this. So I was just on the website, like, what can I do to not have to pay this? And came across, the financial assistance and I filled it out. It was very easy to fill out and they wiped it completely clean. And I was like, whoa. Now, I will say though, although they wiped their portion out, I think another thing people don't realize is that everybody bills separately too.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
hospital's billing, the doctors are billing, the labs are billing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. They all bill separately, so you have to do it with each of them. Usually the hospital bill is the largest, but even with those medical providers, the surgeon, the radiologist, the physical therapist that comes and visits you in the hospital, or breathing help, all of that is billed separate. So you have to do this over and over and over again for one visit to the hospital if you need. However, it is definitely worth it to ask for reduced pricing. I've said, look, this is the amount of money I have, and I have all of these bills. If you don't take a negotiated amount, which I would make an offer, again, be specific in what you can do, then you will not receive anything because my money is going to get spread through all of these medical bills, and you will end up with nothing. And typically they will negotiate with you, if not write the whole amount off, because they can write it off of their taxes
Mm,
as a
mm.
discount given to the patient. So it's definitely, and most people will not ask for a discount or even a charity case situation. So when you do ask, you're one of a few that's asking, and they're better able to do that. But unless you ask, you will not get the help.
Oh my gosh, that is gems right there because I didn't even realize that that is a tax deduction for these hospitals and
Yes,
doctors and businesses. So that's even more bargaining power for you because
absolutely.
yeah, because they're looking at their bottom line and what they're going to have to pay in taxes, and you're like, hey, look, I can save you
Yeah.
some tax money here if you help me help you.
Exactly, absolutely. And even if there's something that is going to help your life, like a tool like microbiome testing or pharmacogenomics testing, you can go to those companies that they don't, it will help your health, but they don't necessarily take insurance, right? And you can go and say, "Hey, I would like to take your test. I cannot afford it. But if you do this, I can do some social media for you, or I can make a graphic for you, or I can write a poem about your company and submit it to the local newspaper, or something crafty and creative where you're bartering for that treatment or exchange in some way that you have a talent in."
Oh, that's a good idea too. I didn't even think about that part. In order for negotiating and just bartering services or things like that, I didn't even know that they would be receptive to that.
Absolutely. My a family member, I was gonna say who, a family member of mine does that with his dentist. For him and his whole family, he doesn't have dental insurance, and he's an animator, and he actually will create animations for the dentist's office that they can use in like a 30-second commercial or that type of thing, or a video that runs in their office. So if you have a talent or skill, you can also use that to negotiate.
That is so cool. Well, you have dropped so many gems today. And I'm already over here like trying to brainstorm because like my son, he has braces or he had braces. Now he's in the kind of maintenance phase. And I just had to get new retainers. And I'm like, dang, if I would have thought about that, I could have said, hey, I could do some social media management for y'all in
Absolutely.
exchange for these retainers. So now you have my brain definitely going forward. Like if insurance doesn't cover something, what I can offer in exchange or negotiate down in exchange or what have you. And so I certainly appreciate all these different points that you hit on, from, getting the nurse practitioners to asking for the cash price, to negotiate pricing, to get the financial assistance, go directly to the manufacturers. We've covered a lot. So if people were more interested in learning more about you or more about this great information that you shared on the podcast today, how would they find you?
They can find me at my website, barbyingle.com, Barbie with a Y, Ingle with an I. And they can also go to internationalpain.org, which is the website for International Pain Foundation, which I'm the immediate past president. And there's a lot more resources and information on that website as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate all the gems that you dropped. And it sounds like I'll probably have to have you on again because I'm sure the audience gained super value out of this. So I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. So glad to be here and share with you and your audience.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.